It is time for the Jody Vance experience here on Equity Guru. Glad to have you with us as we learn more about the industry of investment. I mean, so many people want to invest and yet have no idea where to even begin or what sector they're most interested in investing in. So we're spending time here on the experience getting to know some people who certainly have a great deal of experience in exactly that. And today we have somebody who's, I was just saying, bios that are pages long. Steve Saviuk is with us, career in accounting at KPMG, but moved to venture capital investing years ago. Steve, can you give us a little bit of a sort of a background history of who you are aside from the company you're working with right now?
Yes, I started off, as you correctly said, as what was known at that time as a chartered accountant with KPMG, Pete Marwick, that morphed into today KPMG. Went into taxation, started to look at a lot of investments for my clients and the tax aspects of those investments, and really started to fall in love with the investing world, if you will, at private equity, venture capital. So I've done quite a bit of that over the last really probably 35 years. And the last 20 of which were in the life science area. So before I was involved with other endeavors, whether it be in satellite communications. I think from a recognizable point of view, in terms of something that people could relate to, I was one of the co-founders and early investors in a company called FieldTurf, which makes a new synthetic playing surface, which you see around the world right now. It's this ubiquitous rubber granules in top of sort of like a shag carpet, effectively, and it revolutionized sports playing surfaces. So a lot of satisfaction in that. But the last 20 years, got involved with various investments in early stage life science companies, which ultimately led me to be involved with pharmaceutical chemicals, and ultimately in 2003 to start with some other executives in the pharma industry, Valeo Pharma, and the rest is a great run of 18 years, which I've enjoyed tremendously, and still look forward to coming to work every day and being involved with really some great people and some really interesting drugs.
So what is the mission statement of Valeo Pharma for our viewers' purposes?
And it's important because this mission statement really drives who we are and what we do. But our mission is to bring the best pharmaceutical products from around the world into Canada for the benefit of Canadians. We think that is, Canada is a well-developed country, but a relatively small country in terms of the pharmaceutical industry. It's about 2% of the world market. So often it can get overlooked, not by the multinationals. So the multinational companies would be companies like Novartis, or Merck or Pfizer. They all have operations in Canada and they all make their drugs available in Canada. But there are many, many smaller companies that develop very innovative drugs, whether it be in the US, in Europe, or in Asia, that have they do not have the capacity to set up operations in Canada. So it's upon us to find these opportunities, again, in selected areas, in selected what we call therapeutic areas. So a therapeutic area would be something like oncology or / cancer or neurology. We focus on three areas. It's to find these very innovative drugs created elsewhere in the world and bring them and make them available to Canadians, which includes making doctors aware of them, other healthcare professionals. Obviously, they prescribe them to patients, and importantly, to try to get the governments to pay for these drugs, which is a big aspect of the pharma business that people don't often think about. But the provincial governments each regulate their own provinces' drug plans and pay for about 50% of all drugs consumed in Canada, prescription drugs I'm talking about. So it's very important to get the provinces to pay. So it's often finding the payer for a specific medication that's very important.
It's interesting because big pharma gets such a bad rap by many, in the anti-vax community, or people who want to look at pharmaceuticals as just a scheme and a plan to take your money and maybe make you sick, when in fact, simply what you just said about Valeo Pharma right there is advocating on behalf of people of Canada to have access to pharmaceuticals that might be game changers in their lives.
Absolutely. We look for innovative drugs, drugs that have better efficacy, so work better than other drugs. In some cases, it's for a condition where there is no conventional therapy.
Yeah.
So this is like a new type of medicine for a specific ailment. It could be a drug that has less side effects or less interaction with other drugs. So some tangible benefit to Canadian patients is what we seek for. And probably an example of that was a drug we launched a year ago or a year and a half ago for Parkinson's, which was the first new drug launched in Canada for Parkinson's disease in 14 years. And this drug has those benefits. It has benefits of less drug interaction. It has benefits of better efficacy than prior generations of that class of drug. I think it's a real benefit to those patients in Canada that suffer from Parkinson's disease.
No kidding. Music to the ears of so many when there are breakthroughs for drugs, or finding out that a drug that was, created to help with, the symptoms of E. coli that turns out to be the 99% efficacy on an ultra rare disease that typically would result in a horrible outcome. I mean, those are the things that some small drug companies abroad might not be able to bring to Canada.
That's correct. It's a question of the size of the market. At the end of the day, it starts off with the science and the science and this belief of helping people. I think that's common for all the drug companies in the world. There is a strong sense of helping humanity, helping people overcome conditions. And as you see in many cases, in many types of diseases, there are drugs now available that weren't available 20 years ago that can actually manage symptoms or manage a condition quite well. I think that's the starting point, but there is a reality of financial behind it. And Canada is one of I'd say the lower to lower tier drug prices, or has some of the lower drug prices in the world. So I think our system is working well, maybe as compared to, let's say, the US and certain other countries. But there is a reality that companies cannot sell at a loss. It costs a lot of money to develop drugs, and it has to be recouped at the end of the day. So I think there is two sides to the coin about why drug prices are high. Again, high drug prices also fund many billions of dollars of research, some of which is being benefited of right now with the COVID-19 pandemic, where a lot of money has been put into. It's amazing. I'm truly impressed with the speed at which some of these vaccines have been developed and are now starting to be brought to market. And it shows you that you have to have a solid, vibrant pharmaceutical industry to be able to do that. And without it, God knows what might happen. So it's very proud to be part of that industry. We're not involved in COVID, where our drugs are involved with other areas. But I'm very impressed with the speed and that this has all happened. And I think hats off to those who are involved.
Yeah, spreading around the accolades is certainly important now, as we have seen, going into the early days of COVID-19 and having some experts and legitimate scientists say we may never see a vaccine for this virus. And here we are just 9 months later with possibly 4 or 5 of them. That's the investment piece, investing in science and really getting things from the bench to the bedside, as they say. The study piece is so massive, the sharing of information and really broadening that global access as well, which brings us back to Valeo Pharma. So for somebody who's watching this right now and saying, I like Steve, I think what Steve is doing is important, and it feels like it's something that I'd like to be a part of. How does one go about investing in an established opportunity such as Valeo? Because as you mentioned, this company has been around for quite some time. What offer is there for somebody looking to invest now?
Well, our company, Valeo Pharma Inc., is a publicly traded company in Canada. Stock symbol is VPH. We have only been public for less than 2 years now, roughly 22 months. And we've been around a long time, 2003, but we have a sort of an interesting story in that in 2014 and 15, we sold our business essentially to what was at that time Valiant, now known as Bausch Health.
Yeah.
We were heavily involved in dermatology. Bosch sought those some of the products that we had, and we concluded that transaction in 2014. Subsequent to that, so we had the same core people. We kept the company name. We sold our products, not the company. We said we have other ideas. We have other areas we want to be in. Let's keep going at this thing. So we reinvested a considerable amount of money ourselves personally as a private company at that time to in-license and acquire additional drugs. We now sell 9 drugs in Canada. That number will be 13 probably by the end of next year. And our revenues are growing. We're on the verge of profitability. This is, as you know, an industry that is quite a high hurdle rate or introductory rate, in the sense it's very regulated. So you need a lot of people that handle some of that regulatory aspect. We are in the low 30s of employment, and by January we'll be in the mid 40s. So we're in a hiring spree. So we have the sort of the wind in our sails in terms of sale of our revenues and going towards profitability. And we're very excited about the future for Valeo to continue to bring innovative medicines to Canadian patients and healthcare professionals.
So this is a good opportunity for the investor. You say your sales are up, and the gust of wind is about to come. That's the perfect storm.
That's right. I think there's as you say, it's a critical mass, and you get this momentum, and the momentum is building upon itself now. So it's a very exciting time to be with us. It took a lot of work to get here, but I'm extremely committed. One thing that separates Valeo from many other companies is we're, even as a publicly traded company, our board of directors, our management team, and our employees are all shareholders, and we collectively own about 65% of the shares of the company right now. So we put a considerable amount of our own money into the company, and it aligns us with our outside shareholders, with our what I call our third-party shareholders. Our objective is to build a company that has growing revenues, growing earnings, that actually does so by selling innovative drugs to Canadians, or for the benefit of Canadians. And I think that's the same, and it's really that share price appreciation that drives our team. This is not a lifestyle kind of company where you get a good salary, but you don't have much equity in the company, or you don't have much risk with the company, in the sense that you haven't invested a lot. And I think that our third-party shareholders have the same objectives. They want to see price appreciation. So we are aligned in that way. And we're, I think, one of the few companies, whether it's pharmaceutical or just in general in Canada, that has such a high inside ownership. And I think that is something that should be comforting to your viewers, to say, these guys have put their money where their mouth is. And,
or these guys have put their money where mine is.
Yeah.
It's a win-win for everybody, because exactly. the company can't win without the third-party investor coming along for the ride.
That's right. We just completed a financing in September of $7 million. Again, insiders continue to invest in that round, but we did bring on a lot of new third-party or outside shareholders. It's important. I think as companies grow, access to capital and having a good shareholder base is extremely important in any company's growth, and as it is in ours. And we try to make as much effort as we can to communicate with our outside shareholders and let them know, where is Valeo today, where is it going to be in 2 years from now, and what are some of the milestones that we anticipate in the future. And I think that reach out program is extremely important and is well received by. Unfortunately, I can't call everyone personally and say, this is what's going on, and spend a half an hour talking to them. We have well over 1,000 shareholders today. That would be prohibitive. But obviously, through interviews such as this and other outreach programs that we do on an ongoing basis, we hope that our investors are kept as they should be. As an owner of the company, they are owners of the company. They should know what's going on and what to expect.
Well, we certainly hope that you'll keep us posted here on the Jody Vance Experience. It's a pleasure to chat with you. Before I let you go, I want to ask you what you would say to a first-time investor who is looking at Valeo as perhaps their toe being dipped into the market pool. How what was your first investment? Do you remember? Do you remember the first time you actually pulled the trigger on like, yep, I've got $1,000 for this?
I remember doing it. I just can't remember what the investment was. But you have to look at it as be realistic. And I'm not giving investment advice here, but just my feeling.
We've got the disclaimer on this. Don't worry. Don't worry.
But this is not a value opportunity. Is not like an overnight, or it's going to double in 2 weeks or something of that nature. I think you're looking at a growing company that has a lot of people having their vested interest in it. And I think if someone is willing to say, I want to make a long-term investment and I'm going to diversify my portfolio, but I want to be exposed to healthcare or life sciences, I think in that situation, Valeo represents a very attractive opportunity. And I say, keep, and also access to management, access to information, access to what the company is doing. This is nothing is happening where there is I think it's important for any investment to try to keep as abreast of it as possible and try to follow the business model and events happening. And I think part of my job at Valeo is to make sure that my shareholders, who I'll consider my partners, if I was walking down the street and said, I'm a Valeo shareholder, I can't divulge inside information to you, but I'm working for you as much as I'm working for myself. So I think that's the important part. Find good management over and above all. That's the most important thing in an industry that has a bright future. The pharma industry is not going sideways or down. It's going to continue to grow. New medications are making life longer and better, and I think that's truly encouraging for everybody. And I think that there's supporting that kind of business is I think has a good financial return, and also a good altruistic return. You feel good about it, and believe me, when I talk to doctors or patients that have been benefited by our drugs I do feel good that we played a small role in that process.
I love that. Let's leave it there. Steve Saviuk, thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me.
That's Valeo Pharma on the Jody Vance Experience.